توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم صدق الله العظيم.
Ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome Mr. Babar Ahmed.
Yes, I do. Thank you for that protocol, Zainab. Appreciate that and the overtly blown introduction. Do I need to speak into the mic, or can I move?
You can use this mic.
It's not a very huge auditorium, but I guess it's. If I can actually get a mobile mic, I'd appreciate that.
Tuck it in your shirt.
I got it. Thank you. Sorry, just give me a minute to attach this. I don't like standing behind podiums. All right. Is this on? Is this all right? Great. So my name is Babar Ahmed, as I guess you guys have heard so far. And just as a brief introduction, I head up Mindstorm Studios, which is a game development company here based out of Lahore in Pakistan. Okay? And I was invited to give this talk today by Zainab and Umar, and I'm very grateful to actually have the opportunity to be here. And I was thinking about what should I talk about today? Like, what's the core purpose of this forum? And I thought, okay, fine. There's the standard company presentation. I could tell you guys about what our company does and where we've been and how we've achieved what we've managed to achieve so far. And that's all nice, and it's a story, and you could sit there and listen to a story. And that's always a good thing. But I thought a bit more about it, and I said, hey, what's pertinent to you guys? If I was sitting in your place, what would I like to know? What would I like to hear actually sitting in your place, right? And I was like, if I was in your place, I'm most likely trying or thinking about going into entrepreneurship. I'm thinking about doing something different than my day job. I'm trying to make a change, trying to shake things up. So what would I like to hear if I actually was thinking about making that kind of a jump? So I got up today morning and I kind of scrapped my old presentation and I then redid the presentation for something along those lines. And on those points, how many people in the audience actually have started a company and are successful right now? Great. So there's one person. Congratulations to you, sir. And other than that, I mean, I'd say there's not everybody here is a successful entrepreneur. So we're kind of in the same boat. And the idea there is that in the second half of the presentation, after I tell you a bit about our company, I wanted to address what I think I would like to hear sitting in your place in saying, how do I go from where you guys are into being a successful entrepreneur? All right, at least from my perspective. How do we go from where you guys are sitting in your chair into trying to be successful? Okay? So, but before that, let's get the company stuff out of the way. So why can I actually come up here and talk? What have we done in the past? We're a product company. I'm not going to talk a lot about our company. If you guys have questions about it, of course, we can take that up in a Q&A session. We are about 6 years old. So we're formed in 2006. The key difference between our company and other companies in this space and in most of the other spaces in Pakistan is that we are entirely a product-focused company. So we're not a services-based organization. So we don't sit down and say, hey, client XYZ, let me get a project, let me make this for you, and let me make some money off of that. No, that's not what we do. What we do is creative work. We sit down and say, hey, this is what I want to make because I think this is cool, or I think this is going to work, and I think this is going to make us some money, and I think this is going to make a difference. So a bunch of guys get together, and girls, and we say, all right, fine, let's try and make this product. So we're product-focused entirely. We're also self-funded. That is very similar to, I think, almost most of the companies in Pakistan, and we'll get to that. We started initially in 2006 when the mobile revolution really hadn't happened, at least not the smartphone revolution. And the PC platform was the primary platform for game consumption other than the console. So we started off with PC games and stuff, and alhamdulillah, we've made a lot of games, and I'll show you a bit of those. We've done fairly well as a company. I wouldn't say we're super successful, but this year, we're closing in roughly in $1 million in revenue this year, just on our own products, and then hopefully it's going to be upwards of that. So we do kind of sort of know how to do this stuff, but we're not like a super successful company yet. Hopefully we'll get there. So this is one of our games right now. I think we mentioned that, Zena mentioned in the introduction. This game actually hit #1 across all app stores when we launched it. It also happened to be our first mobile game that we made. And I'll quickly go through some of the stuff. This game right here is a social game. It's a kind of a mashup between the mafia genre, like Mafia Wars, where you go and attack and kill each other and stuff like that, and the farming genre, where it's all nice and happy and you grow carrots. And so we kind of merged those two and said, let's try and make something ironic, if you will. This game is making a lot of money, all right? As a stat, some guy logged into our game like a few months ago, and in one day spent $5,000. One guy spent $5,000 one day within this product. So I know it sounds stupid, and actually that's what we thought. We thought it was a server-side error, but it actually wasn't the case. I'm sharing those numbers with you that these things do work. It's not like it's not hogwash. And again, if you guys have questions about that, we can discuss it in the Q&A session. This is another one of our games. It's an arcade-style puzzler. This has done really well as well, over 1 million downloads. This is a variation on our Mafia game. It's a more thematic RPG-type Kingdoms game. This is also doing really well for us right now, and we have a bunch of other mobile games. So these are all on the mobile side and stuff, and it's our product portfolio. And of course, for every successful game, there are many other non-successful experiments, as is the case with anything in life. This is the World Cup game that people spoke to you about. So the way the World Cup game worked for us was that our first product in the company's history was actually a full-blown 3D PC cricket game. And when we started, we didn't know how to do this stuff. In fact, we didn't know. Nobody had ever made a game in our company before, right? And the only reason why we did a game was because we were passionate about making games. Because I've been playing games all my life. My brother has been playing games. We're like, हाँ यार cricket game बनाते हैं मजा आएगा. That's all we thought, right? और 3 साल लग गए हमें मजा लेते हुए, right? And it took us a long time. But alhamdulillah, the game came out. That was actually this game right here. It's called Cricket Revolution. Pepsi sponsored that game and bought it from us within Pakistan. Then we were able to sell that game to the ICC as well. And that was a big thing for us because there were other competitors like EA and Codemasters and billion-dollar companies that we won the license out from. I don't have much of a demo. I have this coming up. Let me see if is this mic on? You guys can hear it from this, right? So, all right. This is a video of the game. Back in 2008, so this is about 4 years old. So that was our title about 4 or 5 years ago. It's a lot of nostalgia associated with it. Of course, the graphics are a little pre-gen given where we are these days. But back then, with the kind of money that we had, i.e. zero, that's the kind of stuff we could make. And that game did do really well for us. It sold on Steam. So I'm not sure if you guys know what Steam is. But Steam is an independent publishing platform made by Valve. Valve are the same company that made Counter-Strike, Half-Life. They're a very, very popular game development studio and distributor. And they're very picky and selective about the stuff that they sell. And so we pitched our game, they liked it, they said, sure, we'll sell it. So that's the stat there, right? Wow, OK, I've already jumped a slide ahead. So that's kind of all I wanted to say about my company and what we've done in the past. And of course, if you guys have questions about that and about the industry and about how much money people can make in this industry, we can talk about that in a Q&A. I wanted to move quickly to the second part of this talk, which is based on my personal experiences. This is not some global industry standard or data or stuff. This is my opinion on what it takes for an entrepreneur in your position to go from where you are to being successful, all right? And if you guys are thinking about being an entrepreneur and stuff, these are the things that I would think about were I in your place, all right? So I've drawn up a chart here, and very broadly, of course, there are a lot more ingredients in being a successful entrepreneur, but very broadly, I've categorized them into these categories, which is the entrepreneur, him or herself, the team that they work with, the idea that they have, the money that they have to begin an entrepreneurship venture with, the ecosystem, and we'll get to that, and of course, luck, all right? And I've given a personal weightage to how important I think each item is relative to 100% scale in terms of you being successful, okay? So we're going to address each one by one. Let's talk about the entrepreneur, all right? So the entrepreneur in this case is you guys. It's you in the seat, it's you in the seat, it's that successful guy right there, right? And the idea is that you as an entrepreneur are the single most important person in the equation of being successful, all right? And it's not as simple as saying, TK, right? I want to be an entrepreneur, so I'm going to go up and be successful, all right? If I were to ask a question and say, how many people in this room can actually slam dunk a basketball on an NBA court? Hands? All right, so we've got one guy who believes he can, all right? And that's excellent, right? The rest of you, like myself, are probably thinking, crap, I can't slam dunk, I can't jump 12 feet high in the air, all right? Why? I mean, you might be short, you might not be the most physically fit person like me, right? And it's just tough. There's a physical limitation on you not being able to slam dunk a basketball, right? Entrepreneurship is no different. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Not everybody can get up and say, hey, yeah, today I'm going to be an entrepreneur, all right? The problem is that the variables that go into defining whether you can or cannot be an entrepreneur are not really tangibles, all right? Let me ask you some questions. Let's say you started a company and you didn't have salaries to pay for the next month. Would you sell your house to pay those salaries? Would you sell your car to pay those salaries? Would you borrow money from your mom and sell her jewelry to pay those salaries? All right? You have to ask those questions. All right? Are you that kind of a person? Can you work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week? Most of us work, most of us go to work 9 hours a day. Most of us work 3 hours a day. All right? Can you work 16 hours a day? Can you work when you're not working, when you're sleeping, when you're eating? All right? Do you believe, regardless of what anybody tells you, that you can succeed? I can make it, man. I don't care whether this person thinks I can't make it. I don't care what he says. I don't care what she says. I know I can make it. Do you have that belief in yourself? All right? Can you take risks? Can you go out and say, I'm going to do the craziest thing today in the world? Do you even go to new restaurants? Right? You go, nahin yaar, wo khana pata nahi kis tarah hone wala yaar. You don't even take that kind of a risk. Are you willing to take a risk with your life and the life of the people around you? Can you handle failure? Because guess what? If you start entrepreneurship, that's a big reality of entrepreneurship. You will fail, all right? And can you handle that? It's only from the ashes of failure do you succeed, do you come out, do you learn from those mistakes and and grow as an entrepreneur, all right? And there are many other questions. The list goes on. These are just some examples that I'm bringing up, and sorry if I'm being a bit passionate about it, but that's really the kind of questions you need to ask yourself. Are you ready to be an entrepreneur, all right? And the key takeaway really is that it's not for everyone. Slam dunking in NBA basketball court is not for everyone. Being the Formula One world champion is not for everyone. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. That's important. And those are the things you need to ask yourself, is it for you? All right? Let's say you guys have taken the initiative to come here. It is for you guys. So we're all in this room. We're like, yes, I believe in myself. I'm ready to do what it takes. Okay? How do you go from there to saying, what's the next step? Okay, the next thing that's important to you is the team. Okay, the problem is that, and there's a problem here, okay, that you is this blue MSN I got off the web, all right? In Pakistan, and this is particularly in Pakistan, there's lots of yous, all right? Everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur wants to be the entrepreneur, all right? People don't, in Pakistan in particular, we don't have a culture of working together. We don't have a culture of saying, all right, man, I have an idea. I know you have 2, 3 different ideas, but look, I can bring this to the table. You can bring this to the table. Let's get together and make something. 4 yous don't make a company. 1 you and 3 team members make a company, all right? Now, these guys are so important. This team member in an entrepreneurship venture or entrepreneurial venture is no less important than your life partner, okay? Because you're going to be spending more time with your team. You're going to be eating with your team. You're going to be drinking with your team. You're going to be sleeping with your team. The team is going to be your life, all right, for the next N number of years. So selecting this team is super important, and they're as important to your success as you are to your success, okay? And that's a concept that in Pakistan in particular, we need to ingrain in ourselves. That your team members are important, okay? And to alleviate some of the questions that people have, but I need this ownership, I need that. Not everybody who is a team member is not an entrepreneur. Just because you're a team member doesn't mean you're not entrepreneurial, all right? But everybody brings their own piece of pie to the equation, and it all adds up. So, but basically, when you choose your team, so A, you decided to be an entrepreneur, B, you're choosing your team, remember that in a good team, the value really is not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 11, + 1 = 111 if you choose your team correctly. And they're as important as your life partner in choosing your team. So let's say that you want to be an entrepreneur. You got your team together. Now you're like, dude, I had this awesome idea, man. I want to make this thing, and it's going to be the best thing in the world, okay? The key pitfall that I've seen talking to people is that all entrepreneurs at the early stage are so attached to their idea. They love it so much. They believe, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this? This is the best thing in the world. Now, that's good. It's not a bad thing, okay? There's a pitfall there that you need to avoid, which is saying your idea is not always the best idea in the world. Not only is it not always the best idea in the world, you don't know it now, but your idea will change. Once your team gets together and starts doing things, your ideas always change, and they have to change. If your ideas are not changing, you're not an entrepreneur. Because the technology space, and this particularly in the technology space is changing. Every month, the technology landscape is different, all right? So your ideas need to keep up to speed with that technology, with that change of technology. A good example is Sony. I've already put it up here. How many people know that Sony's first product, and Sony guys got together. Chalo yaar, Sony banate hain, right? The multinational giant of the 80s and 90s. Now it's kind of dwindling, but nevertheless, Sony is Sony. They made bean sauce. The founder said, मुझे bean sauce बनानी है क्योंकि जापान में bean sauce अच्छी नहीं मिलती, all right? और फिर इस बीन सॉस को चावल के साथ पकाने के लिए मैं राइस कुकर बनाऊंगा, all right? And both their products totally failed. From there, they reiterated, they tried. There are many other examples. HP, the computers that you guys use, and so on and so forth. Their first product was one of the first products was bowling आप करने जाते हैं, right? उसकी एक foul line होती है. Okay, अब वो आप cross करें तो foul हो जाता है. That was their first claim to fame. These are Stanford, serious graduates, Hewlett and Packard, that have buildings named after them, made a bowling foul line as their first product, right? So the point I'm trying to make really is that when you're doing entrepreneurship, you have an idea that's excellent and gets you motivated, you want to go, you want to start, experiment with your idea quickly and eliminate your ideas even quicker than that. Nahi chala, don't hang on to it, don't go, oh yaar, mera wo idea, yaar, ye blah, 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 blah. Don't stick to it, don't be bullish. Be ready to innovate and change, okay? So let's say you've got your idea. This slide has a lot of information. But you got your team, you got yourself, you got your team, you got your idea. Now you're like, okay, fine, dude, let's get going. Me and my homies are going to get into a room and we're going to make this awesome product, okay? This is now a problem. Because the first question you're going to ask yourself when you guys get into a room, पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? पैसे कहाँ से आने वाले हैं? Okay? It's a terrible question. It is the death of entrepreneurship. It's also a very important question, okay? But because that's the only question you're asking, you're not asking the question कि भाई मैं अच्छी चीज़ कैसे बनाऊँ? How do I add value? How do I make my customers happy? How do I change the world? How do I do something cool? How do I do something socially satisfying? You're not asking any of those questions. You're asking, how do I make money? Okay? That's not a bad thing. It's not an unimportant thing. It's not the only important thing. Because of that, the problem is that to really start entrepreneurship in a good way, in a way where you can actually add value, you need to be able to raise capital upfront. The only purpose of raising capital upfront, or one of the key purposes, is to take away that pressure from you, so you start asking the right questions. You can focus on the product, all right? You need to be able to raise that money upfront, that venture capital, that risk capital that's out there, okay? A good example is Facebook. They made Facebook. Facebook wasn't profitable. They didn't make any money. They had billions of users. They didn't make any money until recently, where they figured out their business model. Another example is Twitter. I think Twitter is still not making money. All right, so companies add a lot of value, but they don't. The business model in which you actually make money from that value is a morphing thing. PayPal morphed their business model 100 times before they figured out the right sweet spot on which to make money. So the problem is that because we have a hard time raising money, and I'll talk about that in a bit, we start asking that wrong question, and inevitably, because you have to answer that question, you have to pay that salary, everybody starts to sell the first thing they can sell. And what is that? It's human capital. You and 4 people are in a room. What can you sell? You can sell your time. And that is why all our companies tend to move towards services. Chalo yaar, flan banne ka project pakadte hain aur wo project kar lete hain. That's not a bad thing, okay? But it's not innovative. You're not changing this landscape around you. You're not changing the world. I mean, yes, you're adding at a secondary and third level and so on and so forth. As you can see, I'm not a services guy. I'm a product guy, and there's a reason for that, because I want to make a change and an impact. But this is the age-old debate that I have with people that I speak with, services versus products. Unfortunately, because of the lack of a funding ecosystem, companies in Pakistan are forced to do services, and because of that, we don't tend to innovate. So if you guys are trying to start a company or thinking about it, don't think about that first line. Think about your product and think about raising your money. What options do you have to raise money? And I'm speeding up through this so we can actually have a good Q&A session. The first important fact is that not only in Pakistan, but in a large part of the developing world, venture capital is not available. Okay? There's multiple reasons for that. You can't go and blame the venture capitalists for not being present in countries like Pakistan. There's no legal system here to support venture capital. There's no capital market in which you can actually have a good buyout and a good exit strategy. All right? The human capital that you require, the people, the talent that you require to feed your entrepreneurial ventures is very limited in these areas. All right? So for many of these reasons, venture capital will not exist in developing countries in the true form that it does in the developed world, at least for a while. Right? That is the reality that you live in. So you need to understand that. You don't actually go and get venture capital. Now, what are your options in Pakistan if you were to go and raise money? If you want to go raise money, well, the best option in Pakistan, unfortunately, is your friends and family. Go talk to your friends, go talk to your family, go ask people, and convince them, yaar, main ye bahut chikni cheez bana raha hu aur scene on hone wala hai, right? And if you can convince them of that, and they can give you their money, well and good. That's a great place to start, okay? Or you talk to angels. I have an angel for you. He's sitting right here, okay? So an angel is in the investment terms, an angel is a wealthy / successful individual who has some money in their bank account that has made it through some means or the other and is willing to fork out a small amount to assist you. This angel may or may not know much about your venture, all right? But they believe in you. They're your friend, or you know them, or they're your family member, or for some reason or the other, you've managed as an entrepreneur to convince them कि यार आप मुझे $1 lakh देंगे, मैं आपको 1 million बना के दे दूंगा, किसी तरह से दे दूंगा, all right? That is probably your second best bet beyond friends and family. And there are these angels. Unfortunately, these angels in Pakistan in particular are real estate tycoons generally. So you go to them with a, hey यार मेरे पास flan DHA में 40 plot मिल रहे हैं 10% discount पे, they will fork out crores immediately. You won't even know where it came from. It'll just come. It'll fall from the sky, right? But you tell them, hey, I want to do something where I have this technical venture and value. They don't know how to value these things. But that's your second option. And then your third option in Pakistan, of course, is to build a services company. That's it. I mean, those are the ways you can raise money in Pakistan as far as my understanding goes, okay? In our particular case, I invested all my life savings into Mindstorm Studios. My mother sold her car, and they came to Pakistan. My brother sold whatever he had in Dubai. He came here. We put in everything that our family owned into making this venture, all right? That was how we started off. We went with option A. I didn't go to angels. I didn't go to build a services company or anything. I said, we're going to still make a product, but we're going to do it by selling everything we own and really try and make this happen, okay? So that's the funding part of things. And that's not always easy, but yeah, so the key takeaway is money is really hard to come by. Okay, this slide is a little noisy, but it's an important slide. This is important for you to understand where you're sitting, okay? You're sitting in the LTP, I understand that, and it's all nice and pretty, but it's not nice and pretty outside of the LTP. And here's how it is, okay? So where's the mouse? Yeah, here. All right. So there's you. You got your team together. All right. You got some idea that you kind of want to work on, but it's a work in progress. You can iterate. You got some chump change from some guy in Pakistan who's foolish enough to invest in your idea, right? How do you actually put this all together, right? How do you use this ecosystem to say, I want to compete? Well, wake up, man. Who are you competing against? Let me tell you who you're competing against. This is who you're competing against. This is the developed world right here. These people have hordes of people to hire. They have entrepreneurs popping up left, right, and center, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds making millions. Today, there are multiple examples of that. They have a very healthy and striving ecosystem of finance that funds these people. All right? They have ideas because people are working together and in the same vicinity and everyone's switched on. I have an idea. I can talk to 100 people about it. Those 100 people will convert my idea into something 10 times better than what I thought. How many of you actually go and talk to 100 people about your ideas, right? You don't, because in Pakistan, there aren't 100 people to talk to about your ideas that can give you valid feedback. Okay? Moreover, in this ecosystem, there's the facilities themselves, all right? And I don't know if you guys can see that, right? But over here, you have a bunch of stuff: electricity, transport, infrastructure, legal, I don't know, pani, doodh wala, whatever drives you, a generator, right? That's all. It's not even a thought. सोचना भी नहीं पड़ता. It's there. ये तो है ही, right? You're just starting off, hitting the ground running. In Pakistan, none of that is available, right? I could put Zardari's picture there, and that's fine. And yes, I said it in a political forum. Excuse me, but. That's really what the situation is, all right? And then this is all of us poor guys kind of working in this place, kind of trying to struggle, okay? This is the reality of where you are, all right? And you have to understand that. So when you want to go and try and be an entrepreneur, understand your environment around you. Understand that when you can't raise money, what the problems are. Understand that when you can't find the right people to work with, why you can't find them, and what kind of stuff you're going to approach, right? So the takeaway is entrepreneurship generally is really hard. Really hard. It's like the hardest thing that I've ever done personally, and I've done a lot of hard things. And if you think it's hard to a level of 10, multiply that by 10 more. It's harder than that also. And in Pakistan, it's even harder, okay? So that's my takeaway from this, right? And the last vertical that I had up there was luck. Okay, so all of this is fine. You got your team. So by the way, I did want to say this, right? In this slide. But all hope is not lost, okay? I'll tell you why all hope is not lost. I'll tell you why, all right? You see this guy right here? If you are an entrepreneur, that means you have said to yourself, you will do whatever it takes to make it happen. Man, you will do anything to make this happen, okay? Your team members have said that too. And there is no equivalent and no putting down the human spirit. That is why entrepreneurship works in Pakistan. There's no other reason, all right? It's human spirit that says, I am going to make this system into that system one way or the other, okay? And I don't know how good you are. You don't know how good you are. Unless you started and unless you tried, you don't know that you can do this. But you get into it and you do it, and you're like, yaar, scene on ho gaya tha. That's really what happened with us, okay? So that's the variable that fights this particular situation, okay? Along with that, of course, there's the luck factor. Now, what's the luck factor? So there you are, nice and blue. There's your team, and there's all the stuff we spoke about. You need to be able to get from there into a company like this, all right? As an example. So that's you. You got your idea. You managed to raise that money, and you got this team together, all right? In this equation, going from that point to this point, what variable do you control? You control just yourself. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't control the team. You don't control all the business spaces that develop the ideas. You don't control the funding structure, right? You control yourself. What are the chances that you run into that team member? What are the chances that you thought of the right idea? What are the chances that you found that investor, right? So in going from here to here, your game essentially is to say, how do I optimize or minimize my probability of failure in a techie angle? Or how do I make sure I can meet the right people? That is why for an entrepreneur, being social is important. If you sit in your room and do nothing, you will never meet that team member. You will never meet that investor. You will never get that right idea because you're not meeting enough people to bounce these ideas off. You just exist in your own microcosm, all right? So you got to go out there. It's like literally like a snooker table, right? And if this ball on the snooker table is kind of hanging out in the corner, it's not doing anything. You got to put it into the mix so that it bounces off of multiple things. That's the key idea, right? But let's say you managed to be lucky enough to meet these people and you persevered and so on and so forth, right? And you formed this. Now, your next task is this company needs to make this product, okay? So you thought that you'll be able to make this product, right? But again, you don't control all the variables. What if your key team member leaves? What if you run out of money? What if, I don't know, 100 things happen, all right? A lot of things need to work correctly for you to be able to achieve this. Let us say you manage to achieve that as well, right? So keep in mind, you started off as an entrepreneur saying, हाँ यार, मुझे ये एक चीज़ बनानी है और पैसे मिलने वाले हैं, right? After this, this is where the fun really begins. So when we started, we thought, यार, product बन जाएगा तो बस scene on हो जाएगा. It's all going to be good and all going to be happy, right? We managed to fight the odds and make this. What we found out was that the toughest thing in product development is not the creation, because that is still somewhat controllable. It's actually what happens after the creation. This cloud here is the real world. You don't control anything in the real world. You don't control the market. You don't know if there's a competitor coming in with the product at the same time. You don't know if the iPhone comes out. That happened with us. All right? We spent 3 years making like a cricket PC game, and by the time we were done, the entire gaming landscape had changed. An iPhone was out. Nobody cared about PC games. All right? You don't control these things. And if this all works out for you, only then will you be successful, that you can manage. So this is the reason why coming together. So you don't just jump from here, idea आ गया, चलो जी successful हो जाएंगे. इस तरह नहीं है. Which is why my takeaway from here is that honestly, pray hard and try and get good karma around you, okay? Honestly, you really need it, all right? A lot of people stumble on success, which is why we might think entrepreneurship is easy. You get some people that you meet, you're like, yaar, how did this guy make so much money, yaar? ये कहाँ से आ गया? और ये इसलिए आ गया क्योंकि things lined up for him. All right? He wasn't as hardworking as you are. He wasn't as smart as you are. He wasn't as dedicated as you are. But he was a lot more luckier than you were. Okay? That is the reality of life. So to summarize, there's you. There's the team that you get together. There's the idea that you put together, right, with this team. And please don't hold on to your idea by too much. And if you can manage to get this team together and you have an idea, talk to some angel to try and get some money to make a product. Don't do services, please. And then after you do that, realize you're in a bad ecosystem, okay, and really just pull your socks up, man. It's a struggle. Pakistan mein, it's a struggle. You need to be able to take that struggle on. Or koi rasta nahi hai, theek hai? And then be lucky. So I want to conclude with some quotes that I think are close to me. That these are things I really believe in, okay? If you want to be an entrepreneur, first off, don't be afraid to fail, okay? That's a key stigma in our society. यार मैं अगर fail हो गया तो मेरे लोग दोस्त क्या कहना? I have that problem as well. It's really hard. Yeah, I'm not supposed to fail. I studied hard. I did well. I got all A's. अब C grade आ गया. Oh shit, how do you handle that, right? So there's this quote by Henry C. Link, which is, while one person hesitates because he feels inferior, the other person is busy making mistakes and becoming superior because you learn only from your mistakes. Okay. The other one is that don't let the negativity of others pull you down. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you talk to someone like, yaar, pata nahi kya chavli bol raha hai yaar. Iska to koi scene nahi wala, pagal hai, ye hai, wo hai. What a stupid idea. Oh man, that'll never work. All right, you need to be a wall, bounce those off of you, okay? Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. And I believe in that. Believe in yourself and push yourself to the limit. What does that mean? Entrepreneurship in Pakistan, entrepreneurship generally, and entrepreneurship in Pakistan is not a walk in the park. You need to bring your A game. You need to push yourself कि यार मैंने इस तरह कर लेना कि जैसे मैंने कभी भी नहीं किया. Like you're super motivated. उसके बगैर you won't be able to fight the challenges that come your way. All right. Doing what others cannot do is talent, but doing what talent cannot do is genius. Be a genius. All right. That's my take on that. Dream big, please. Okay, I'm a cricket batsman. How many batsmen go out on the crease and say, "Aaj maine 1 run banana hai"? Come on. right? Okay, Misbah, yes, shouldn't be part of the team, okay? But seriously, dream about making that double century, dream about making that triple century, all right? If you think 1 run, you're going to make 0, right? So that's one of the key problems on service. If you want to go to a services company, be a 5-man team, and serve some other client and earn some nice profit, man, trust me, it's 10 times easier to get a job. Trust me. Do a job, be happy where you are. There is nothing glorious about having a 4-man team doing other client work. It's not. It's so much work. It's so much effort. Client ki khap, client ka ye, client ka wo, team, company. You will realize that it's not only that, but forget about that, right? I mean, you can't really add value without dreaming big. So I'm a big proponent of that, okay? And lastly, I mean, don't keep waiting indefinitely. There is no right time. The right time is when you want it to be the right time, okay? Of course, everybody has their own situations, but don't keep on waiting forever. And this, I really live by this, all right? I try like anything. I try to do everything. I mean, I've done some crazy stuff in my life. But regret for the things that you did may diminish over time. But the regret for the things that you haven't done is totally inconsolable. Ki yaar, wo maine kiya nahi tha. So I just leave you guys with that, and that's my take on it. So I'd open up the floor for any questions. You guys can take your time. I will go and get some water. No, it's all right. I'll just go and get it. It's right here. If you guys have any questions, think them up. I'll be glad to answer. If you have any questions on the iPhone industry, games, and so on and so forth, I can answer that too.
Any questions?
Oh, you guys can see my folder? That's embarrassing. I will close this.
First of all, congratulations to you on being such a good, inspiring person in such a, you can say, young age. Because
Thank you.
I saw many entrepreneurs and kind of, old, but you are, I came to just like, wow, he's such a young person and such a grateful thoughts. And the other thing, I had such unanswered questions before that. But after listening to you in your way, I came to, yes, come on, now I got my answers. And really thankful to you for giving in such a way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So kind of you.
Sir, tell me, when you started this, there were many problems for you. Okay. Can you please tell me, just like you said, your mother sold your car, your brother sold everything. What was the kind of pressure in your mind? Okay, they sold everything. I'll have to pay them back. That's one thing. And another thing, what kind of problems in real time you faced when you started?
Those are both very valid questions.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. So there is a question with the management. Sir, please, this is a professional kind of seminar. Sir, it was timed as 4, and it started after 4:30. Sir, sir, there is, we have our jobs to do. We come from job, and the manager will not allow us to go on 4 times. So there are the things
So I think I mean let me address that point first, right? उसमें चक्कर यार ये है कि it's actually not the management's fault, right? It's actually the audience's fault. And I don't know, यार आप लोग थे, right? I was here at 3:50 and there were like 2 people in the room. And at 4 o'clock, there were 2 people in the room, or 3 or 4, something like that, right? And in that environment, sure, I'd start the talk, but then no one, I mean, people, I'm guessing you were here earlier on time. Like, and that just goes out to our society in general. It's a societal issue. Okay, 4 o'clock means, हाँ 4 बजे यार, हाँ 4 बजे, right? यहाँ तक के cinema timings भी होती हैं यार. You go to CineStar, right? हाँ 9 बजे तक शुरू हो जाएगी, right? आधे घंटे खड़े रहो. So that's really the core problem. So please, if the audience can start coming on time in everything you do in life, then these problems won't happen and people don't have to answer to their managers, right? So that's the scene. So on your question, which is what happened when we started and what was the pressure? Man, there was immense pressure, all right? In my particular case, I was in the US. I had never lived in Pakistan. मैं पाकिस्तान कभी आया भी नहीं था. मैं यहाँ पैदा भी नहीं हुआ. I was born in Dubai. and I've been there all my life. And I was in the US for my undergrad and my grad and so on and so forth. And what had happened with me was that I had already, in my opinion, enjoyed my life to the fullest. I had bought a car, I had bought a house, I had a job, I had traveled, I had gone skiing, I had done this, I had done that. And I was like, yaar, agar Allah ne mujhe itna diya hai, itni opportunity di hai, I need to give back, which is why I started thinking about entrepreneurship. Like the best place to give back is not by working for an American company, it's by going back to my people, living in Pakistan, figuring out how this was, and trying to contribute. That's why I came back. So the pressure was on anyways because I had thrown away everything in the US, and all my friends were laughing at me, and they still are laughing at me because of the current political situation. That's a separate story altogether. So there were multiple pressures. Now, it's not easy to handle that pressure. Okay? The question, which is why I really said it's all up to you as the entrepreneur, can you take pressure? Because you have to make a decision. आज मुझे ये चीज़ करनी है, मुझे ये प्रोडक्ट बनाना है, alright? मैं ये और ये करूँगा तो शायद ये होगा. आपके पास आंसर भी नहीं है. You don't even know if that's going to work out, alright? Do you have the guts to say, look, I know, okay, I'm going to stick by this decision and I am going to try and make this happen? And it's not just the guts. The guts just helps you take that pressure. Or even in a job, you see some people can take a lot of pressure, some people can't, right? You have to really minimize your chance for failure because of that pressure furthermore, which is why you need to, for me, in my case, I worked, I'm not kidding, I slept at the office for 3 months, I worked 16 hours a day, like there was no other option for me, okay? But I didn't know I could do that. The only reason I knew I could do that was because I was put in that situation. And that is the key thing about human spirit. You don't know what you can achieve until you're actually put into that situation. When everything is on the line. It's only then when the best comes out in you. And if you feel you have the ability to take that pressure, then entrepreneurship is the right place for you. Of course, some people have it lucky and it's not that hard. They have the family money and blah, 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 blah. But the paying back is a huge problem. It's a huge problem because now there are emotional strings tied, which is why my opinion is the best capital actually is venture capital. It's a business deal, yaar. Here's my idea, here's my talent, here's my skill set, all right? Do you believe in what I can do, all right? And institutional capital will invest in you. If they don't believe in you because you're not good enough according to their books. That might not always be the case, obviously. But family capital, I would say, going through my experiences, as I said, it's the number one option in Pakistan. It's also in my opinion, the most loaded option. क्योंकि किसी और के पैसे डुबाना एक बात है, अपने फैमिली के पैसे डुबाना फिर वो शर्म की बात हो जाती है और इज्जत का मामला हो जाता है, particularly in our culture. बाकी में भी कल्चर में भी ऐसे होता है. So if you can avoid it, but it seems to be the only thing that you can do, right? And there is no answer to that pressure. You just have to take that pressure. There's nothing you can do. Now, what difficulties did I face coming across this? That's a very long-winded answer. There's so many difficulties, right? So I'll defer that maybe to an offline session for something more pertinent, like some exact question. Is that okay? Maybe we can meet up later on that.
My name is Nahir Mahmood, and I just started off a new company in this building, the 10th floor, last week.
Congratulations.
I've been in business for the last 3 months, but I just got this new office. Wonderful talk. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the organizers. As an entrepreneur myself, I just wanted to make a comment that your presentation was very heavy on challenges, and that's really great because I feel that it's all true. But to the young people sitting here, we also need to focus and convey to them the opportunity. And if we do not do that, then we're not doing justice to them because they need to have enough motivation to break their shackles from the jobs that they're doing. So it's really about alternatives. This is tough, like you said, but what is the opportunity and what are the alternatives? So can you comment on both of these, alternative in terms of a job and opportunity in terms of how well can you do it?
So thank you for bringing that up, Nabil. I think those are both excellent questions, excellent points. My take on this presentation and the fact that you pointed it out is that it was focused on challenges was exactly because I thought about that question today morning. My initial presentation was, yaar, haan, Mindstorm ne itne paise bana diye, hamari ye company thi aur ala area. And I was like, nahi yaar, that's really not what entrepreneurship about. So let me address that. Okay? I think by not facing the reality of, like, I'll tell you a pet peeve that I have. A pet peeve that I have is someone coming in and saying, "Yaar, why don't you become an entrepreneur, man? Go out there and get them." Okay, dude, look around you. The environment is not easy. It is not easy for people in Pakistan to actually go out there. And my take is on that, and I could be wrong. As I said, this is my own opinion on stuff. Okay? My opinion on this stuff is by forcing people to become an entrepreneur when they're not ready is like putting a 10-year-old kid into an A-League soccer match. All right? It's unfair to them because they don't know what they're getting into. That was my initial opinion on that. So the purpose of this particular talk, and to justify that, is I'm not trying to say, and if I gave that impression that you guys shouldn't be entrepreneurs, that's not what I'm trying to say. And so I take that back. That was the impression. The impression I want to make is that you guys need to understand the lay of the land, and you need to know what it's going to take to be successful in this area. Either you're rich to begin with, it's easy, not a problem, take your risks, all right? Or every time you roll a dice, you get a 6, I would become an entrepreneur immediately. No questions asked. Or you're like everybody else. And if you're like everybody else, the ground reality is that it is tough. Entrepreneurship is tough generally, period. All right? Pakistan mein, it's a salam to you and to everybody else who is an entrepreneur. I mean, having done it myself, I pride myself in, I take the hard way. Mujhe, माँ कहती है कि वो सही रास्ते पे वो कांटे होते हैं, and I pride myself in, मैं कांटों के रास्ते पे चलूँगा क्योंकि फिर उसके अंदर रिवॉर्ड ज़्यादा होगा. यार पाकिस्तान के कांटे, salam alaikum, it's like, holy crap, right? That's the honest situation. I mean, look, I was in the Bay Area, I was in the Valley, all right? I was sitting in a seat like this, and there's a professor giving a lecture at Stanford saying, he was telling us, yaar, on that seat sat Sergio Bin, and on that seat sat Larry Page, and on that seat sat flan when they took my lecture. And you're like, yeah, this is so cool, main kahan aa gaya hu? This is so inspiring. And you go and meet these people because you go to a coffee shop and there he is. There's, Sergio Bin sitting there, hey, what's up, man? And you can go talk to him about Google and about stuff, and that's really how the environment is, all right? Pakistan, you go outside, there's a fruit guy scratching his stomach saying, with his donkey cart telling you to get out of it. So I'm not trying to put it down. I'm just trying to make us aware of the ground realities. That's pretty much it. So that's my point on today's presentation. Alaikum salam. Thank you. Thank you. That's 100% true. I will address that question, and also I did want to add to your point, and I'll do that after this question. How much do you have time? Okay. On your question, it's Saturday, man. They're making you work hard. I like it. I should hire you. So, no, what I was saying was that when we started off, right, we got into game development. Okay? I'm not the best person to answer that question. I'll tell you why. We're a small team. We're 20 people. We're not a huge team. I don't have 100 people working for me. We're 15 to 20 people that go in and out and so on and so forth. In product development, you don't need 100 people. So I haven't gone out and hired, give me the best, but it's important to hire the best people around you. The issue for us was when we started, we were saying कि हमने 3D PC game बना के globally बेचनी है. पाकिस्तान में तो scene ही नहीं था. कोई scene ही नहीं है. There's no person that I could go to say, hey man, where do I hire one? There's no video game school, right? NCA may they teach you traditional communication design. All the art industry in Pakistan is media focused. Everybody loves Ali Zafar, and that's it. All right, that's the media industry in Pakistan, at least when we started. It's not really how it is now. And I think Ali Zafar wasn't that big back then. But the point being is that it's all advertisement and communication design. So the way we did it was we said, okay, in fact, knowing what I know now, if I were to do this, and this is an important point, okay, knowing what I know about the game industry now, I know how to make games. Okay, I can make a 3D game, I can make an Xbox game, I can make a PlayStation game now, I can make an iPhone game, blah, blah, blah. Alhamdulillah, 6 साल लगा लिए, काफ़ी कुछ सीख लिया on the job, ठीक है? Knowing what I know now, had I started in 2006, now, rewind back to the future, future to the back, I would never have done it. Never. I say, यार, बाबर पागल हो गया है. Cricket game बनानी है पाकिस्तान में. कहाँ से बंदे आने वाले हैं? क्या करने वाले हो? This is the stupidest thing I possibly could do. This is an important point. I didn't know that. Okay? So I said in 2006, you know what? I'm going to make this game. I don't care what happens, I'm going to make this game. All right? I'll tell you what happened. We made the game, and alhamdulillah, it was only because I didn't know that we couldn't do it. Okay? An example is we had to take animations in the game. All right? Cricket की game में तकरीबन 600 animations जाती हैं उस game के अंदर. Physics programming वो तो आती थी, मतलब you know how to code, so like चलो यार coding तो मैं कर ही लूँगा. बाकी सारी चीज़ें कहाँ से आएंगी? Audio कहाँ से आएगा? Animation कहाँ से आएंगी? So we looked into it. So we said चलो यार मुझे वो short की animation निकालनी है. किस तरह निकालते हैं? नहीं पता था. Google पे गए, सीखा. अच्छा इस तरह निकालते हैं. चलो हम लोग निकालने की कोशिश करते हैं. 3D Max डाउनलोड किया, इंस्टॉल किया, लगाया. Animation के यार shit ये तो नहीं हो रहा. मसला हो गया है. अब क्या करें? Then we read up some more. It turned out that the way people do animation is through professional motion capture. What they do is that they have a huge studio, a huge room. They put in cameras in this room, and a person performs all these acts and blah 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 blah. And then you transpose that onto it. Like, yeah, wow, this is cool stuff. हम लोग भी करवाएंगे ये काम. So I called up all the animation companies. I said, यार हमें ये animation चाहिए. No. I called up a Pakistani studio that could do animations. You know what this Pakistani studio said to me? I won't take any names. Said, यार तू पागल हो गया. क्या कर रहा है यार? लम्ज़ पढ़ाते हो, जाओ पढ़ाओ. Why are you trying to make a game? Or this is the first response. He sent me back home. I was like, shit, yaar. Maybe the guy, Baba tha, by the way, animation industry ka. So some people, if they know the industry well, they might know what I'm talking about. But anyways, then 3 months later, that same person called me and said, if you give us 40% stake in your game, I will do your animations. I was like, yaar, dude, I'll do the animations myself, करवा लूँगा. So I called up the other companies outside of Pakistan. I'm going to tell you the story and kind of what we went through, right? पाकिस्तान के बाहर फ़ोन किया, पता चला जी $2 लाख लगते हैं एक इस किस्म की 500 एनिमेशन करवाने के लिए. $2 लाख मेरे पास है नहीं, right? We didn't have that money. Like, how do we do this? All right? So this is where most companies would have stumbled. In our case, alhamdulillah, we didn't. I created a motion capture studio of our own. This is in 2007. This was officially, I know this to be Pakistan's first motion capture studio. It wasn't an official studio. There was a room. What I did was, we had a house. I built a fiberglass construction all around that house. और उस पे I bought cameras and we put cameras. Cameras सस्ते मिल गए थे मुझे. I imported them from USA. Cameras मैंने 12 cameras लगा लिए थे सारे airgate, and then we got some software for it. We kind of calibrated that software. फिर 3 महीने जो मैं बता रहा था, मैं ऑफिस में सोया था, मैं इसके लिए सोया था. I built that motion capture studio. और फिर what I did was मैंने motion capture suit खुद पहना, सारी calibration करके. Cricket Revolution में every single animation is actually me. मैंने 3 महीने वहाँ फर्श पे डाइविंग लगा के ये कर. So it was a solution to that problem. All right. So if the bowling style is ugly, that's because I don't know how to bowl. All right. That's really what it is. Okay. But I didn't have a solution. So my solution was, you know what? Pressure है, family के पैसे वापस करने हैं. I don't have an option, yaar. I've just got to do this. And so I did whatever I could think of, and that's what I thought of. And alhamdulillah, it came out. It worked out for us. So there are lots of challenges. There are lots of challenges like that. All right. I don't have the solutions to those. You don't have the solution to those. Right. All you know is that when you are in that situation, can you push through? And in many cases, people don't have that capacity to really solve that problem. This is where your social skills come in. Please understand, this is where the team comes in. Can you reach out to people? There are people willing to help you if you reach out to them. Tell them, यार मेरा ये मसला, please help me, यार ये कर लेते हैं, वो कर लेते हैं, मैं कुछ ये पैसे दे दूंगा, कुछ यहाँ से कर लूँगा, favor कर दो, blah blah blah. An entrepreneur needs to be able to have those lifelines. You need to be able to pull a lifeline. So if you are a guy that can't talk to people or a girl that can't talk to people and are scared of asking for favors and stuff, entrepreneurship is a tough area. Not doable, but tough. आपके पॉइंट पे before I come to this, आपके पॉइंट पे जो आप कह रहे थे कि regarding the opportunity, I do want to take that this a few minutes to tell you guys. right now, the mobile gaming space or the mobile application space, generally, that's the space that we're in. We moved from PC games into mobile games. It's just crazy, man. It's like the most happening business sector I have seen in a long time. Okay, let me tell you how happening it is. How many of you guys have played Temple Run? Right, quite a few. You know how many people made that game? 2. It was a husband and wife team that made that game, sitting in a room. Okay, you know how much money that game made per month, and is still making? $1 million+ every month. $1 million to $2 million. Temple Run makes that money every month. Okay? Currently, it's making about 3, roughly thereabouts. Okay, that's an example. Can you make that Temple Run game? Of course you can. Of course you can. It's not that hard. It's a simple Unity engine. Get down, put a few things together. Cheezein ban jati hai. It's not that hard to do, all right? But there's all that other stuff that I said. In particular, in the mobile space, the luck factor is huge. It's a piece of art. I'll give you an example. I'm an awesome guitarist. Okay? I'm not, but let's say I was. I mean, I can play, but so just because I can play the guitar and be awesome and so on and so forth, do I get as famous as, let's say, Atif Aslam? Of course not. All right? So talent does not mean you become successful. There's a lot of stuff that goes from point A to getting to point B, luck, things that you move around, opportunities that you get, who sees you perform. And in game development, because it's a piece of art, it's subjective. It's also art. It's not just science. So you don't know if it takes off or not. But there's a lot of money to be made in the game space. You don't have to make $1 million. All right? You can do something simple, and you can make easily $10,000 to $20,000 a month. Easy. It's not that hard. Okay? Now that I've learned stuff about this space, okay, that's not bad money. $10,000 a month is like 8 lakh rupees, 9 lakh rupees, right? We can make that with a 3-man team. Theek? All right. One way to start off in that area that people tend to do is services. If you want to do that, that's great. All right. You can start a mobile services company so you can put your team together. Okay. The reason why I'm anti-services is it, in my opinion, kills the entrepreneur. The guy that was creative, that could have changed the world, that could have done something super awesome, now is earning this incremental ticking money, tuck, 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 and he's happy. Chusni de diya humne usko. Ab wo baith ke bas khush ho gaya. That same guy that could have changed the world. That's why I don't like services. All right. So if you're doing services, that's great. Use it to learn, but then be proactive to break that mold and move out. So that's my take on it. Sorry, aapke paas question tha.
First of all, beautiful speech delivered, and it was very good. And after every question, it is more firm. But one question is that can you throw some light on the financials? You made the first video game. Did it make money? You lost it or whatever? We probably know a little more detail about it. That what happened? You
sure.
put everything in, and then how much money did you get after it was a loss, and then you changed the line or whatever?
It's a good question. Obviously, I can't explain all the financials, but I can give you guys a moti story. हमने गेम बनाई 2009 में हमने कहा इसको लॉन्च करते हैं. All right, everything was lined up for success in our mind, but मैंने आपको उसमें प्रेजेंटेशन में आपको दिखाया था कि आपने टीम बना ली, आपने कहा कि मैं प्रोडक्ट बना लूँगा, प्रोडक्ट बन गया, प्रोडक्ट को लॉन्च करते हैं तो क्या होता है. All right, हमें तो पता ही नहीं था कि प्रोडक्ट को लॉन्च करने में होता क्या है, क्या वेरिएबल्स हैं मार्केट में जो. ऑफ कोर्स we did our research, we did our homework, but just because this is a dialogue from Good Will Hunting that I love, just because you read Oliver Twist doesn't mean you know what it's like being an orphan. It's a world apart, all right? It's just they're two separate things. So just because you've read what the market looks like does not mean you know what's going to happen once you launch your product. You have to really walk that walk. So what happened with us was we launched, failure, all right? कुछ भी नहीं बना. It's like, यार, ये क्या हो गया? इतनी वो मेहनत और ये सारा कुछ और blah 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 कुछ भी नहीं बना. मतलब we made about $30,000 something like that in our first month. ठीक है? But sorry.
Why I ask this is that next question is that we need to have some ecosystem where, of course, we want lots of entrepreneurs, but all these entrepreneurs would require human resource. And above that, on top of that, in our case in Pakistan, we do not have so many examples like you or maybe very few people come across people like you. So if we adopt a mentoring approach, and if there are few entrepreneurs and they are being mentored by somebody who have gone through all that process, and he handholds them and walk them through the process, and the probability of more entrepreneurs growing into an entrepreneur that is successful at a faster pace.
So you're right on the money, and I could give you a very long answer to that, but I do know for a fact that is what Umar and PITB and folk are actually successfully working on. So in a very short time frame, inshallah, you should see a lot of activity in this space where they're taking the challenge literally by the horns. So they're aware, the institutions that control these kind of systems are aware of exactly that point. They're also aware of the dearth of people that can actually disseminate that knowledge, right? So it's really a matter of putting it together. That is why we're sitting here. That is why we're in this auditorium today. These are efforts. Like, we couldn't have had this talk, last year as an example. So this is all a starting point. Inshallah, over the coming years or so, this will get even better, and there are a lot of ideas that they're putting together for that. But to finish up that story, we launched a product. The product failed. We're like, we're screwed. So we didn't know what to do really. And at that stage, our company kind of, people started leaving. यार यहाँ तो कुछ भी नहीं बना. I always paid my salaries. एक बंदे की भी आज तक एक salary अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मिस नहीं हुई. लेकिन like यार इतनी मेहनत की, blah 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 blah. I was like, यार, okay. How do we make this work? Okay. From that day in my life, till that day, I had been an engineer. I was nothing else. All right. I used to design cell phones and integrated circuits and wireless communications and signals and systems and blah blah blah. And I wrote the physics engine for the game. I was like, yaar, engineering is the way to go. Literally at the end of 2009 was the first time I actually became an entrepreneur. Okay, that was the first time that I became a businessman, if you will, because I had to go and sell something for the first time in my life. And I can bet you, not many of you have ever sold something. All right, it is hard. It is so hard going to someone and saying, "Yaar, ye cheez hai, mujhe paise do iske." Oof, like I can't explain the feeling, right? So I started calling up people. So I didn't know I could be a businessman. I didn't know what to do. It's just like the motion capture situation. So what I did was I started calling up anybody and everybody I could think of. I said कि यार बाहर तो इसको बेचना ज़रा मुश्किल है. We actually got a publisher on board. In the games business, what happens is that the product company focuses on the game. And it's true of most of the creative industry. You make your music, you write a book, you make a game, and then a publisher that understands and controls a market purchases this from you, and then they go ahead and distribute it. The problem was that we were in a niche space. We were in the cricket space, all right? There are not many global publishers that would touch cricket. EA Sports wanted to buy our game, okay, at that stage. So EA was big. I was like, yeah, this is cool. But then a startup company came across us, this a company in UK called Mamba Games. There were people like ourselves saying, we are a startup publisher. We are British. We understand cricket. हमने cricket को हमको पूरी दुनिया में ये कर देंगे वो कर देंगे. They sold me their entrepreneurial story. I was like, हाँ यार बड़ा मजा आएगा. मैं EA के साथ काम नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं entrepreneur के साथ काम करूँगा. I worked with them. Stupid move, right? It all fell apart. We didn't make any money. So we were stuck. I had money to pay back. So then what I did was that I started trying to come up with ideas on how to make money from the game. And we had our first big sale. I was like, look, I can sell this game in Pakistan. I know you won't pay me a single rupee for it because software is free, but I know someone who will. And that someone was the institutions. I went to Mobilink. I went to Telenor. I went to the D-Juice brand. I went to the Uphone brand. I went to PTCL. I went to everybody and anybody I could think of. I went to their offices. I had long meetings with them. Literally 6 mahine maine lagaye. I was pitching this game again and again, right? Everyone I showed the game to, yaar, wow, Pakistan mein bani hai, ye itna cool hone wala hai, ye hai, wo hai, wo hai, wo hai. Good job, man, good job. I was like, yaar, I mean, I know, but hey, can we work together? Can we sell this game? I know, if Mobilink sells this game with the Jazz brand, it's going to be cool. Imagine at the store we have this whole box and blah, blah, blah. It's going to be cool. And, at that stage, I was really upset. Everybody turned me down. They said, very awesome, great game. And they all turned me down. So what happened at that stage was that I said, okay, this is not how to approach them. I can't approach these guys because I am speaking a different language. I am telling them about business opportunities. I am telling them about, yaar, is tarah aur is tarah kar lete. And I realized that all of these haves in Pakistan are not entrepreneurial. And I can't blame them because they have a business to run. MobiLink has a brand image to maintain. It has a business to run. It can't work with me launching a rogue cricket game, right? So I said, look, who can approach these guys? And I'm just telling you the thought process in converting from an engineer into a salesman. I said, I can't sell this product to those guys. Who knows how to sell something to MobiLink? And it dawned on me that the marketing folk, these marketing agencies that Pakistan live and die by, know how to sell to all of these brands. They know how to take their CEOs out to lunch. They know how to party with these guys. They know how to give kickbacks. They know those channels entirely. So I said, okay, I'm selling to the wrong people. I'm going to go to Karachi and sell to all of the marketing agencies. And the marketing agencies just loved it. They just started jumping on, haan yaar, ye, wo, blah, blah, blah. And we managed to close the deal with Pepsi. So I didn't talk to Pepsi. I talked to a marketing agency. Marketing agency talked to Pepsi. So that's one thing that happened. The second thing I did with that product was I called up everybody in India, literally everybody. I said, look, guys, आपकी pirated market है. बेचते ही अब कुछ बेचते तो ना ₹5 तो कमाते हैं. I said, यार, look, India में there's a billion people out there. Even if I get a fraction, right, I'll make some money. Okay. So I called up the pirated folk. I found them online. I went to India. I traveled to Mumbai. I met these people. And I said, okay, guys, look, what's your company's name? They said, my company's name is Quicksort. I was like, bahut ala. Does Quicksort want a cricket game with Quicksort's name on it? He said, that would be so awesome. I said, here you go. Here's a Quicksort cricket game. Sell it all you want. They were like, awesome, 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 awesome. Here's $50,000. So, oh, this works out. But I said, I'm not going to give you exclusivity. Then I went to the other company, and I went to the other company. India is such a huge market that there was enough appetite for all of that. So, anyways, long story short, the point being that in making a product is only part of the game. Selling the product and making money from it, the business side, it's really good if you have a sales guy on board. It's really good if you have a smooth talker. Bande ne gel nahi lagayi hui na, you have a tough business. Trust me. All right, if you're making a product, you need that slick guy with that gel. Maybe forget it. I won't say that. But yeah, so yes. That's pretty much the story of how to sell a product. It's tough. The mobile space has changed a lot of that, alhamdulillah. Because you now can launch something and everybody in the world has some chance. Of course, that's discoverability is a problem, but it's a lot easier than traditional box products, for sure. I think we're running out of time, right? Yeah, so yeah, it's almost 6 o'clock. So, hey, so guys, thank you for all your comments and feedback and everything. I really appreciate that, and hopefully we can talk about it.
Thank you very much, Babar. That was a terrific talk, and I'm sure it was a great learning experience for everyone here. I'd now like to call upon Dr. Omar.
Yeah. You get suitably punished for being, overly smart about this. So this was very, very good, and thank you for coming over. I have known Babar for how many years now? For about 6 years. I've actually known him from his crazy days when he was involved in another startup, Amana. And we spent, I was mildly involved, he was not as mildly involved in Amana, but that's what we did together at some stage. And I've thought very, very highly of him ever since. He's developed into a great speaker. He was a very popular teacher at LUMS as well. But I do agree with the comment that he's gone very heavy on challenges. Okay, entrepreneurship is tough, but it just about always works out. Okay, I want you to remember this, that it just about always works out. I have never met with an entrepreneur who kept at it for long enough and failed. Okay, so just all these challenges, all these difficulties, these roadblocks are natural. You have to pay your dues, so to speak, in just about anything in life, just as in entrepreneurship, right? And if you want to be a billionaire, it'll just take that much effort to get there. If you wanted a 2 lakh rupees ki naukri, that's easier to do and naturally should be easy to do. Okay, I'll tell you, what I do for a living. I have 3 jobs, unfortunately. Okay, I teach at LUMS, as some of you might know. I am on a 1-year leave from LUMS, but I still do research. I'm on a 1-year sabbatical, so I don't do any teaching at this point, but I still do research. I work as Secretary IT for Government of Punjab. And then I also have these little toy startups that I have, about 2 or 3 of them now. But what makes me get up every day out of these 3 lives that I have, 2 that pay quite well and are quite prestigious, and the third one that most people don't even know about, I get up for the 2 or 3 startups that I have every morning. It'll be a real drag, getting up to be Secretary IT to Government of Punjab every morning, where you actually have to get up at about 5:30 a.m. every morning and go to Pakistan. That's just the life. And Secretary IT is involved in just about all the meetings, and whether it's the bus passes or the BRT's intelligent ITS system or the e-ticketing system or the board examinations or or automation of police stations or the land record management information IT system, anything that you can bloody think of that the government is doing, IT is involved in it at this point in time. It's a lot of work, it's very gratifying, all of that is true, but I get up every morning. What makes me get up every morning with a degree of excitement that I may be able to change the world are these 2 or 3 little startups that I have that are all struggling. None of these have made millions of dollars per month, but that's what keeps me going. So the take home there is that entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but it is for everybody. It is the thing it's the juice that keeps you going. It's the most exciting thing that, someone like me can do with his life in a country like Pakistan. There are challenges, but then there's also hope of doing something so exciting that might just change the world. And that hope doesn't exist in anything else that you might do. You could be doing, all these government projects, and you wouldn't have the kind of excitement that you would in having these little toy ventures where you sort of play out a vision, some excitement, some challenge to try and achieve something that no one's achieved before. And I think that is something that I want you to go home with. With that kind of internalize that there are challenges and no one's denying that, and you will most certainly fail, not once but many times. But eventually you will get there and you won't regret the journey of entrepreneurship. There are many other journeys that you might look back and regret, but entrepreneurship is not a journey that you will regret. And I think, just to balance off what Babar has said so vociferously and in such a nice articulation, that there are many, many challenges, and it certainly takes no less a man than Babar to overcome them in a country like Pakistan. It's very, very challenging, making a bloody cricket game, a 3D mocap and making it all work out is, just is a Herculean task and takes someone like Babar to overcome it. But see that he's still smiling. He did something that was absolutely crazy. and I was pretty convinced, when he was building the cricket game that he's not going to make any money at all. I think I expressed it a few times as well. And we had this joke about each other that we're both product guys, we're not money people. And we keep building these crazy products that no one wants to use. But, he's built this product, great product, and has come out of it as a winner and has sold it and has done considerably well ever since. But one aspect that Babar hasn't told you about is that the mocap that he's built with his blood, tears, sweat and toil, he finally donated to LUMS, free of cost, so that they can start building a motion capture studio on top of that. That's the kind of guy he is, and that's what earns him the kind of respect that I have for him. So Babar, thank you so much for the talk and just for being yourself, the beacon of hope in a country like Pakistan.
Thank you so much. Pose for the camera. Thank you.
We look forward to it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me over.
बिजली को 2 मिनट बाद जाने वाली है, so if you want to exit this direction.
we also have some refreshments outside, and I just want you guys to know that our next talk is probably going to take place in September. We'll have Wahad Siraj of Nayatel speaking, and the information will be up on our Facebook page. You can go ahead and like it so you can get updates as soon as we have information to share with you guys. Thank you all for coming.